You know, when you think about ancient Egypt,
Yeah.
certain things kind of jump to mind right away. Pyramids,
Right.
hieroglyphs,
Yeah.
and that jackal-headed figure,
Of
Anubis.
course.
He's like everywhere in pop culture. But we're going deeper, right? Going beyond that.
Absolutely.
Taking a deep dive
Yeah.
into the Wikipedia article on Anubis
Okay.
to try to uncover,
Yeah.
the beliefs he represents.
Yeah.
And why he's still so fascinating to us after all these years,
Yeah.
thousands of years later.
Thousands of years. Yeah. And it's important to remember with the ancient Egyptians that they were really preoccupied with the afterlife.
Right.
It wasn't just about death. It was about what happened to you after you died.
Yeah.
And Anubis has a really central role in all that.
Absolutely. So Anubis is often called the god for death.
Yeah.
But that's not
Right.
exactly right, is it?
It's not the full story, no. It's a bit of an oversimplification.
Okay.
The actual god of the underworld
Yeah.
is Osiris.
Right.
Anubis's domain is more specifically funerary rites.
Okay.
So the rituals,
Right.
the care of the deceased.
So it's like
Yeah.
he's not really about death.
Right.
He's more about what comes after.
Exactly.
Like he's a guide,
Yes.
a protector.
And his role actually kind of evolved over time. And we're talking millennia here.
Right.
Like early as the first dynasty, around 3100 BC,
Okay.
he was mostly seen as a guardian of graves.
Okay.
But by the late Pharaonic era, between 64 and 332 BC, he starts to be seen as a psychopomp,
Okay.
a guide of souls into the afterlife.
Wow. So he starts as protecting the physical body.
Yeah.
And then it's more about the soul.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it.
Does that
And to really
oh,
understand how this happened,
Yeah.
it helps to look at the different titles
Right.
Anubis has.
Okay.
For example, he's often called Immute,
Okay.
he who is in the place of embalming.
So this goes back to that Osiris myth, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Where he helps Isis embalm Osiris.
Exactly. And this myth shows how important embalming was to
Right.
ancient Egyptians.
Right.
It wasn't just about preserving the body.
Right.
They thought that the soul needed a body to reunite with in the afterlife after
Oh,
death.
I see.
So it was really important.
It's not just practical, it's also spiritual.
It's both. Yeah.
To get to the afterlife, you need your body.
Right.
And to exist in the afterlife.
And Anubis, as a mute,
Yeah.
kind of bridges that gap between
Ah,
the physical and
I
the
see.
spiritual.
I see.
He gets them ready for what's next.
And in the article, it mentions that embalmers would wear
Right.
wolf masks
Yeah, that's right.
while they were doing mummification.
It's almost like they were trying to become Anubis.
So they're like embodying him.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And another one of his titles is Kenti Amentiu
Okay.
for most of the Westerners.
Westerners.
Yes.
What's the significance there?
Well, the west bank of the Nile was super important to ancient Egyptians.
Okay.
That's where the sun set every day.
Right.
So it represented going down into the underworld,
I see.
the land of the dead.
Oh, wow.
And that's also why they buried their dead on
Right.
the west bank.
Wow. So he's the gatekeeper
Yeah, you could definitely see him that way.
of this realm.
Yeah,
Wow.
and a fierce guardian.
Okay.
The Jumalak Papyrus
Okay.
tells a story about Anubis protecting Osiris's body
Right.
from Set.
Right.
Set disguised himself as a leopard,
Okay.
but Anubis wins,
Right.
and then he skins Set
Oh, wow.
and wears his hide.
It's like a pretty
intense.
power move.
Right.
He's really taken it to him.
And it also explains why priests wore leopard skin
Right.
when they were dealing with the dead,
Wow.
as a way of calling on Anubis's protection.
It's like they're invoking his
Yeah.
victory over chaos and evil,
Exactly.
which is set.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that he's dedicated to protecting the dead.
Yeah.
That's what it signifies.
So he's the embalmer, the protector.
Yeah.
And then there's another part that we
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
which is guide of souls.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a whole other job.
It really is. And that role really shows how the Egyptians' understanding of the afterlife
Right.
changed.
Okay.
So the Greeks,
Right.
they had a word for this
Okay.
psychopomp,
Okay.
which is what they called Hermes,
Right.
their guide of souls.
Right.
And while Hathor,
Okay.
who has a cow's head,
Right.
sometimes did this in Egyptian mythology,
Okay.
it was more often Anubis.
Okay.
And this is where we get that iconic scene,
Okay.
the weighing of the heart.
Yeah, the moment of truth.
Exactly.
That scene's in the Book of the Dead.
That's right.
And if I remember correctly, it's in the Hall of Two Truths.
You're exactly right.
Okay.
Imagine you've died, and now you're standing in front of Osiris,
Right.
god of the underworld,
Yeah.
in the Hall of Two Truths.
Yeah.
And your heart is placed on one side, a golden scale.
And on the other side is the feather of Ma'at,
That's right.
which represents...
Representing truth,
Yeah.
justice, and cosmic order.
Right.
And who's overseeing all of this?
Yeah.
Anubis.
Oh.
He's very carefully weighing the dead person's heart against Ma'at.
Right.
And if your heart is lighter than the feather,
Yeah.
it means you lived your life in
Right.
accordance with Ma'at, and
Yeah.
you get to go to a heavenly existence.
That's the goal.
That's the goal, yeah.
But if your heart is heavier,
Let's just say that's not ideal.
yeah, that's where Amit comes in.
Exactly.
The devourer of souls.
Yeah. Who is a terrifying mix of a crocodile, a lion, and a hippopotamus.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right. Not a friendly creature.
So that really shows how important Anubis's role is.
Yeah.
He determines your fate.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's a really powerful image.
Yeah.
And it emphasizes
Yeah.
how much emphasis the Egyptians put
Right.
on living a good and righteous life.
It's interesting how all these beliefs
Yeah.
kind of permeate their
Yeah.
whole culture, their burial practices, their
Yeah.
art, their mythology.
Absolutely.
And speaking of art,
Yeah.
Anubis pops up all the time in Egyptian art.
That's right.
And there's a lot to unpack about that.
There is.
But before we do,
Okay.
let's take stock for a second.
Okay.
We've learned a lot about this god.
We have.
Yeah, it's incredible
Yeah.
how much depth there is to Anubis.
Mm.
He's not just like a one-dimensional god.
No.
He's complicated.
Yeah.
He's got all these different sides to him.
Right. And that complexity
Yeah.
is also in how he looks.
Okay.
I mean, we've all seen pictures of him.
Right.
The jackal head,
Yeah.
the black body.
And that's
What does it all mean?
That's always what I wondered about is the blackness.
Right.
It's so striking.
Yeah.
Was there a reason they made him black?
That is a really good question.
Yeah.
Because, in Egyptian art, everything is symbolic.
Right.
And they didn't make him black just because
Yeah.
the jackal is black.
Right.
It means something else.
Okay, tell me more.
So think about embalming,
Right.
what we talked about before.
Okay.
They use neutron salts for mummification
Right.
and resins to wrap the body.
Right.
And that would make the skin darker.
Okay.
So that black could represent
I-
that change the body goes through
Wow.
when someone dies.
It's like a reminder,
Yeah,
a visual reminder.
exactly.
Right.
But it goes deeper than that
Okay.
because black also symbolized
Yeah.
the fertile silt of the Nile.
Right. The Nile's so important to them.
It was everything.
Yeah.
The yearly floods.
Would leave this black silt
Right.
on the ground,
Right.
which made the land fertile.
Right. So the black,
Right.
not just death, but also
Right.
renewal, new
It's
life.
Rebirth.
Yeah.
So death isn't the end.
Yeah.
It's a transition.
Wow. I never would have put that together.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, because the Nile was so important to them.
Absolutely.
And you can see this in a lot of Egyptian mythology.
Totally.
This connection between
Yeah.
life and death.
Life and death are two sides of
Oh.
the same coin.
And you see this in how they show Anubis in art
Oh, absolutely.
over time.
Right.
In the early dynastic period, he's
Yeah.
like a full-on black dog.
Right, like a guard dog
Yeah.
watching over the tombs.
Protecting.
Yeah. But then you get to the Middle Kingdom
Yeah.
and you start to see that image.
Yeah.
We know the man with the jackal head.
Why did they change that? That's a good question. It's something scholars still wonder about.
Oh, wow.
But maybe it shows
Why doesn't-
how their ideas about Anubis change. Like, he's not just about
Yeah.
protecting the grave
Yeah.
in a, animal way.
Right.
He's more about guiding the soul.
Right. So he's
Yeah.
more human now.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Interesting.
Although, there is one really rare depiction of Anubis
Okay.
as totally human.
Wow.
No jackal head or anything.
Really?
Yeah, it's in Ramses II's chapel at Abydos.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't always
Yeah.
the jackal.
It wasn't.
It's so interesting.
It is really cool.
The details are what make this so interesting.
Right.
And speaking of details,
Yeah.
the article mentions that Anubis is associated with a ribbon, a flail,
Right.
and the Imit fetish.
Yes.
The fetish part has me kind of curious.
I can assure you it's not what you're thinking.
Okay.
Remember Emute.
Yeah. He who is in the place of embalming.
Exactly.
Right.
So the Emete fetish was a kind of amulet
Okay.
that they connected to Anubis.
I see.
An embalming.
Oh, okay. So it's more about
Right.
the tools of the trade.
Yes, exactly.
He's always ready
Yeah.
to help the dead get to where they need to go.
Exactly. He's prepared.
Wow.
Those symbols like the color black and the
Yeah.
jackal imagery,
Right.
they all remind us of Anubis's role
Right.
as a protector and guide.
Yeah.
But what I find fascinating about Anubis is that even though he's connected to death, he doesn't seem scary.
Right.
Like, he actually seems...
not like the Grim Reaper or anything.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
There's something about him that's, like, calming.
Yeah, why is that?
That is a really interesting question.
Yeah.
And I think it gets to why people have been drawn to Anubis for thousands of years.
Yeah.
He wasn't someone to be afraid of.
Right.
He represented hope and comfort. He showed respect for the body after death.
Right.
Protection for the soul on its journey, and a fair judgment in the afterlife.
Okay. It's like he's a sense of order, you know.
Yes.
Death is still a mystery, but Anubis is like, there's a way through this.
Exactly. Like, there's a process.
Right.
A cosmic order to it.
And we talked about how he's not just an Egyptian thing.
Right.
The Greeks even combined him with their Hermes.
That's right. They called him Hermanubis.
Hermanubis.
Yeah, isn't that interesting how those ideas kind of cross over different cultures?
Because we all want to understand death.
Right. We're all trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
And Anubis and Hermes, they're both guides.
Right. To help you get to the other side.
Exactly.
And it's wild that even now.
I know.
Like, we still.
Yeah.
Like, Anubis, even though we're all about science and reason.
Yeah.
There's still something about him.
It's true. And I think it shows how powerful those old beliefs are.
Right.
Even if we don't think about the afterlife in the same way.
Yeah.
There's something about Anubis.
Yeah.
That calmness.
Yeah.
That sense of purpose.
Right.
It still speaks to us.
It's like the world's chaotic.
Yeah.
But he's steady.
Right.
He's a constant.
Yeah.
He reminds you that death is natural.
That's a beautiful way of putting it.
It's not something to be afraid of.
And that brings us to our last point, which I think is really interesting.
Okay.
If the ancient Egyptians, who were so focused on the afterlife, could see a god of death and not be afraid, what does that tell us?
It says a lot.
It really does.
It means they accepted it.
Yeah.
They knew it was a part of life.
Exactly. Not the end.
Right.
But a new beginning.
Yeah, a transition.
Exactly. And it makes you think, today we're so scared of death, we avoid it. Maybe we could learn something from the ancient Egyptians.
To look at it, like it's not an ending, but a change.
Exactly.
Guided by someone like Anubis.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's something we can all take away from this.
It's not just about the past.
Right.
It's about learning new ways to see things that can help us today.
I totally agree. And on that note, I think that's our deep dive into Anubis.
I think we both learned a lot.
I definitely did. And I hope our listeners did too.
Me too.
So until next time, keep exploring and asking questions.
Yeah, keep diving deep.